Hi there, this is Katie Groves, and I'm recording this quick healing update. Posted an intense one earlier. I know that was from an alter we called Evan, and he has since integrated back into the system. So are many other parts integrating back into the parts they were split off from by that programmer therapist. We officially terminated that today. Our partner went and did that while we waited outside like we said we would in our last video, and we immediately felt a lot of relief and parts coming back together as a result of it. So obviously ending that ended some kind of program for us, or opened the door for us to heal again. Sorry about the sound, it's a train. I also feel kind of shaky and weird because I'm really cold, and I'm actually trying to get to the point here where I talk about this big breakthrough that I'm having right now in my deprogramming process. For the last week or so, I don't know how long, again, I'm bad with time, but for the last bit, kind of since this whole accessing thing happened, at least the one we know about, we have been going through massive changes inside involving left side, right side, and the dark light dualities dissolving in our system. So we've been massively integrating around that, and light side alters are giving up their position as light side, which really is what deprogramming is about from our experience. I mean, there's so much to it, but I think the biggest thing for us is the disillusion of the illusion of the fantasy that we were ever not traumatized. And the light side parts of our monarch system, their job was to dissociate from the trauma and think that it wasn't happening. And not just that, but many of them lived in these pleasure paradises, they were called in the programming, where they felt no pain and were blissed out on drugs and sex and all kinds of different forms of pleasure. So we have found that it is our biggest task in deprogramming ourselves to get these light side alters, to help these light side alters make the choice to give up that pleasure paradise and come back to reality, make peace with the dark side alters, the so-called dark side alters, and start processing their trauma. That really is how monarch mind control perpetuates itself in people. That's our experience. I can't speak for everyone, but it seems like it's generally the same in that basic way, that people get split down the middle between left and right, light and dark. Alters get assigned to two halves, one half or the other of their body, some in the middle, but that's a whole different thing we're going to get into probably within this video, but I'm not sure. Anyways, we just found this is a real thing that seems like is pretty common to monarch survivors, that there's this left right side duality, dark and light side duality, and that the monarch programming perpetuates itself through the alters on the pleasure / light side, not wanting to leave, not wanting to face the trauma. So the person dissociates from their trauma, splits off into this pleasure place, and they don't want to come back from that place of bliss. And who could blame them? Certainly our dark side alters blamed our light side alters for this, because they were left suffering in absolute hell and complete darkness for a long time. Some of them still are, but that is undoing itself rapidly for us right now, and we are very pleased about that. This whole thing is horribly painful. It has been horribly painful. It will continue to be so for a long time, but we are feeling immense relief. The whole time we've been deprogramming, we've been working with light-siders to give up the pleasure and come back to center and face the trauma, but we haven't seen a shift like this. And it's really opened up now that we've undone what was reprogrammed in us by that therapist, and we are just really finding ourselves in that middle space. So I will talk about that. I had a feeling a part would come out and talk about it. This gray area in us, this place down the middle. We were split, but there's a central axis of our body, of our energy centers, and of our energy centers where altars are contained. And these altars were neither assigned to light or dark. They're assigned to man the borders. They're often trained to be violent, but many of them held space too. Just held space in order to kind of keep the system alive and balanced. A lot of those parts also had the job of maintaining homeostasis for our body. So they ran a lot of delta programs and beta programs to make sure that we physically stayed alive and regulated while performing what most would consider to be superhuman tasks. So these parts have had some very major functions in our system. But once these parts lose their jobs, what they find is they're most connected to the core awareness that we are all one. All of these parts are one, and that we are neither light nor dark. So we call them the grays, and this is not to be confused with gray aliens. It's not that at all. We call them the gray altars, the gray parts, and they hold the inner body consciousness and the energy centers in the central meridian of our body. And so I don't remember how I started talking about that. I'm switching all over the place. We deeply came in touch with these parts again today. We're integrating really fast. And we're finally finding that we know how to process our trauma. Other parts have been able to do this successfully for a long time, but me and my perspective right now, this part I'm in speaking from what was a dark side altar, but now is no longer seeing themselves as dark side, just as undifferentiated, so to speak. I'm switching a lot. What was I trying to say? I don't even know what I was just trying to say. I swear in my life I'm not crazy. Deprogramming makes it really difficult sometimes to talk and explain what's going on. I'm trying to give a really raw video where I just recount what's happening. And that's causing me to be kind of scrambled because all kinds of switching and shifting and all kinds of stuff is going on inside. That messes with my ability to articulate. Getting in touch with the gray altars. I'm really not sure. Oh yeah, processing trauma. Basically, we're finally able in these parts to process trauma. Yeah, that's it. I was coming from, speaking from a dark side altar. I don't even like that phrase anymore. It doesn't make sense to me. Speaking from a part that had experienced that in dissociation for a long time and is now coming into contact with the light and kind of melding into gray in the middle. I still don't know where I was going with that. Fuck. Well, shit. Let me try to breathe and see what's going on. So much integration. It's just too fast. I've started looking at traumas, really heavy traumas coming up, and really embracing the so-called dark side altars, the ones who experienced what we called the night, basically the ones who lived in the snuff ring. Their traumas are horribly painful. I shouldn't even have to say that. It should be obvious. And to try and come in contact with them is excruciating, but I'm figuring out my way of processing it. And it's amazing. It is amazing. Horrible trauma, but amazing to feel it actually go away. And it doesn't just disappear though. When trauma processes, it becomes linear memory. It becomes non-traumatic memory. It doesn't vanish. The person doesn't forget what happened or fail to remember it. It becomes a part of one's memory, but it's no longer traumatic. I mean, the subject matter of it, the events may always make a person feel kind of ill, I would imagine, but the level of visceral reaction greatly diminishes. One can still feel unpleasant emotion when confronted with it without having a panic attack, without actually reliving all the thoughts and feelings, without getting consumed. And at least in my case, I stopped feeling suicidal about it. I can get suicidal in my thoughts and feelings when I relive traumas in which I felt suicidal during the traumas. So no, not reliving those suicidal thoughts is a huge benefit to fully processing a trauma. So that's what I'm experiencing. It's really processing, and I'm really seeing, I'm really starting to see what I thought and felt and saw and experienced in full body during this particular trauma that I'm processing right now. Well, I have to scratch my head. And it was really astounding trauma. My mind feels blown. I'm not going to go into it. It's the worst sort of stuff imaginable. Just the worst. And yet I'm finding myself feeling less impacted by the emotions. The emotional reactivity is going down. So this has been all over the place. I don't know what else to share. I guess I'll just wrap up and say a positive healing message. So the fact that I was recently accessed, I became aware of it, and I've been reintegrating myself back from it and deprogramming myself back from the adjustments that the programmer had made to my system. And now it's bringing me into a deeper place of healing as I delve deeply into the altars that were accessed and find out my true self on a new level. I don't know if that grammatically made sense because I just switched out of that part halfway through. Basically, whatever I just said, that's what's happening. It's possible. I'm doing it. That doesn't mean I'm fully aware of all of my accessing. Other things could be going on. I don't ever want to be arrogant and pretend like it couldn't be. Like there couldn't be more to this than I know. But at least on this level, I am coming back to center. And not only that, but I'm finding my center even more. Thank you.